you know, I tell people, if you live in America and you're not leveraging credit, then you're doing something wrong, because it's the cheat code, right? I tell people, all big businesses you see out here, I'm talking about from Louis Vuittons, the Wells Fargos, even Elon Musk, they're leveraging credit, right? So if they got money and they're still leveraging credit, then why would we? Right? So I tell people, 2.5 years ago, I was dead broke, living in my mom's crib. Last year, we ran up 7 figures, and now what we've been able to do is help 60 people now make more money by leveraging credit online.
Oh, that's historical.
Yes, sir.
See, that's the thing that we missed in our communities. We knew how to get the money, but we knew how to leverage our credit, right? Or even do the right things with the money. So now people like you is opening up those doors that's much needed.
Exactly.
We knew how to touch some money for a long time.
What are you gonna do with it?
We know what to do with it. How can I get the crib? I got to finagle some shit. Now we in trouble when you didn't have to get in trouble.
Exactly.
All you had to do is leverage your credit. So what's the most important component that gives you that first initial like bag with your credit?
That's a great question. So what I tell people is everything about that foundation, bro. And the foundation is your personal credit report, right? So most people think, oh, if you got a 700, we could go get some money. But it's much more depth than just the credit score, right? So what I mean by that is they're looking at strength and age, right? So for example, if I say, yo, Mr. Organik, let me hold 20,000.
Right.
But you found out I've never borrowed money, I've never paid nobody back. You probably not gonna give me no break.
Oh, I can't do that, bro.
You can't, because I don't got no track record,
Yeah,
right?
you ain't got no integrity with me, man.
Exactly. So the same way the banks work. So I tell you, y'all want to go build up your profile. Some ways you could do that is you want to build with primary accounts, right? Primary accounts means anything that's reporting in your name. So for example, if somebody got student loans, mortgage, if you got credit cards, lines of credit, auto loans, all these things are considered primary accounts. Now I know a lot of people say, well, Darius, I'm new to credit. I don't got that yet. Okay, what you could do is you could start with something called credit builder accounts, right? So some credit builder accounts that people could go check out to add right now, and these will report all within 30 days. You got Self, you got Kickoff, you got Rent Reporter for people who are paying rent. Most people don't know that you should be getting credit built every month.
Yeah, that's very important. That's a new thing I heard about.
Absolutely. And they're gonna allow you to backdate. So if someone needs more age because they knew, when you start with Rent Reporters, they're gonna ask you, what was your moving date? Based on what you put for your moving date, that's where they're gonna start you off with. So if you've been living somewhere 2 years paying rent, now you got a 2-year account. Now you look more trustworthy and lendworthy when it comes to the banks. And what I tell people is you wanna start with credit unions, right? And the reason you wanna start with credit unions is because they're a lot more easy in terms of how much they're giving, and they're a lot easier in terms of underwriting. So when you go to a Bank of America or Wells Fargo, it's black and white, bro. It's like
they ain't playing.
They're not playing. It is what it is. But when you go to a credit union, they'll work with you. What are you looking for? 25,000. Maybe they might not meet you at 25, but they'll probably meet you at 20,000. Maybe you need 2 products. Maybe you need a line of credit and a credit card. Okay, they're willing to work with you. Versus national banks is very black and white. So what I tell people is before we even get to the business side, we build up that profile, and then we want to start with credit unions, because that's going to help our comparable credit. Comparable credit means when you go to the business side, they're going to say, what are the 2 highest limits that you have on the personal? Based on that plus your profile, that's going to be what they base your limits off of.
Damn. See, that's a lot of information people be skipping over, because they'll try to go to a normal bank, which is Wells Fargo, Chase or something. They're like, I can't get a loan. Yeah, you ain't going to the right places. Because most of the time when you do get like a car loan, especially like a heftier one, you will go to a credit union. You'll get approved from a credit union faster. So I see a lot of people do things with like Navy Federal and things like that. Why are those banks so more susceptible to give you some money?
Because of lendworthiness. So credit unions are not for-profit organizations, which means the obligation is the client. Otherwise, we will all go to Wells Fargo's and BOAs. The reason we go to credit unions is because we know they're more susceptible to giving us a bigger bad. And some of them, they allow you to do something called double dipping, which means you can get 2 products with just 1 inquiry. So when you go to a Wells Fargo, you apply, every product you apply for, a credit card, a line of credit, you're gonna get a new inquiry. But 80% of credit unions, they're gonna allow you to use that 1 inquiry on multiple products. Right? So that's one thing I tell people. And what I tell people is with a Navy Fed, right, before you go apply for that product, bro, you want to build an internal relationship. So everyone knows about your normal credit score, but these credit unions have an internal credit score, right? So the way you can increase that is they all have something called similar to a pledge loan. So Navy Fed got a pledge loan. DCU, they have a shared savings secure loan. All it is leveraging your money to build a relationship, start building credit within that institute. And now when we go for that credit card, we're getting them 25, them 30, them $35,000 limits.
Because you already did it with them.
Exactly.
So they ain't really worry about the outside because you already built it within. That's smart.
Exactly.
People miss, once again, these steps are so crucial to getting that real money.
I just had a lady, right?
Yeah.
She had a 780. So people think because they got a good credit score, they could just go get whatever. She's like, why would I pay you to get me funding when I could just do it myself? I said, okay, cool. I got a saying, people cannot pay me to take on their problems. So if you come with stress, I'm good.
No, that's
I said,
a good
okay, go do your thing. She applied, right? She went out with Chase. She got $3,500. Then she came back and she said, hey, that stuff you're teaching online, I don't know if it works because I only got $3,500. I said, it ain't that it don't work, it's that you ain't work it. You ain't know what you're doing. So she turned around, she let us do the funding. We got a $52,000 from Chase alone.
Crazy.
And the difference is not in her credit. The difference is not knowing the steps. She didn't know she had to deposit money into an account. She didn't know she should have built a relationship. She was missing a couple data points. She didn't know she should have added a trade line to help her age go up, so that would help her overall profile.
Right. So trade lines. So I hear a lot of people talk about trade lines, or like sometimes they tell people to add them onto their credit, whatever, so they get those. How that work?
Great question. So what I tell people is don't treat trade lines like primary accounts. Trade lines, I like to say, they're like the icing on the cake, right?
Right.
It's the last thing you do right before you go for business funding. So what people will do is they'll say, okay, cool, I'm gonna just start my credit, add a couple trade lines, and then I'm good to go. But the banks they're not dumb, right?
Come on now.
They're gonna look at your profile and say, okay, these all say AUs. So what I tell you is go add at least 10 primary accounts or build at least 10 primary accounts. That's anything in your name.
Right.
Once you have that foundation and all our other data points are in point, utilizations under 20%, no lates, no derogatories, then we go to Trade Line Supply. That's a site that we use for a lot of our clients.
Tough.
Go source a trade line. You can source it two ways. You can source it based on age, right? So if you know that you need more credit age because that's what you're lacking, you can source based on that. If you know you got high utilization, you can also source based on credit limits. So if you go get a $50,000 trade line, that'll drop your overall credit utilization, and now you look more lendworthy to the banks. So that's when you want to go add a trade line, right before business funding.
Okay, so credit utilization is very important.
Yes.
I learned this a while ago because I got in the game with cars.
Fire.
So I had to learn how to get credit and all this. I came from I didn't know what was going on. They denying the at me. I'm like, what the hell do I do?
Yep.
And they explained to me, you know what I'm saying, get you a credit card, a secure card, pay it every month, get you some gas and groceries, and I built it up.
Exactly.
So once I got my credit cards, I understood credit utilization. So how important is that? Keep it under how much percent? And yeah, that's the start right there.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Most people get this wrong. On the internet, everybody would tell you, you want to be under 30%.
Right.
That's cap.
Uh-huh.
Because like you just said, if you went trying to get some cars, you trying to get some credit cards, if you're using up a 30-year credit, I'm not giving you no money. So ideally what I tell you is you really want to be between 2 and 9% when you're going for funding.
Damn, that's tough now.
It is. Yeah. I'm gonna give you a hack. I'm gonna get them a hack on how. But what I tell you is at least be under 20.
When you're going for funding.
When you're going for funding.
Okay, gotcha.
At least be under 20, we can get some. If you want to go get a big bag, between 2 and 9%. So if you got high utilization, right? One of the hacks we use, and I teach my students all the time, is this. You can leverage debt to high debt. And it sounds counterintuitive, right? But this a play all y'all can run. If you have high utilization, I want you to go to something called alternative lending, right? So you can go check out like a SoFi.com, or you can check out an upgrade.com, right? These are designed to help you consolidate debt.
That's them small cars, right?
No, those are actually personal loans.
Okay.
Yeah, the personal loans.
Gotcha.
Right, because when it comes to business funding, when it comes to credit utilization, that's specifically just with the credit cards.
Right.
That's not overall debt. So now when we go to a SoFi, or we go to an Upbound, or we go to an upgrade, they're gonna allow you to pre-qualify one, so it's not gonna be a hard inquiry.
Right.
And then what happens is, even if you have high utilization, there's a good chance that they'll give you some money. So now we take the money that we got from the personal loan, we pay down the credit card debt.
Bing bong.
Bing bong. And now we go to the business side and get busy.
Now give me some of that.
Give me some of that. And then most people would say, well, D, I don't want any personal debt. Okay, cool. So now that we've hit that credit card debt and we got some business funding, I could take some of the business funding and pay off the personal loan. Now I have no debt on the personal side. Everything's in my business name.
Ah, that's hard.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because it's kind of, you can separate it, right?
Exactly.
So people have their businesses, have the EINs, but they still don't know how to go get that credit or go use that to go get the things they want.
Exactly.
Can you explain that to people? Because people are like, yeah, I got my LLC.
Yep.
She ain't did nothing with it, don't know what to do with it. Can you help these man?
For sure, bro. And he's right on point, y'all. Listen, we're in a time where now people aren't giving out money based off just your EIN, unless you got business revenue coming in. So if you got bank statements where you making at least $10,000-15,000 a month, you could go, we call it rev-based funding. So you can get funded based off just your bank statements, right? But most times, for 90% of people, it's gonna come down to your personal credit profile. So we're doing something called personal guarantoring, which means they're looking at your personal to dictate whether we can get business funding. So y'all gotta have that personal setup. When it comes to the business though, like you said, you wanna make sure you're structured the right way. Make sure you're not just using your cell phone. Make sure you got a proper business address, right? Making sure that you operate like a big business. It's like, what I tell people is, if I hopped out the whip and I had stains on my shirt and I had you know, hubcaps falling off, and I say, I'm a business coach, come work with me. You're gonna be like, hell no.
Man, get the fuck on.
Get the fuck on, right?
We ain't got no business for me.
Exactly. You got business, but not for me.
Yeah.
So it's the same way with the banks, where they're looking at you like, how you want us to give you $30,000? You're not even looking the part.
Right.
Right. So I tell you, those are some mistakes that you want to avoid when it comes to setting up your business.
Right.
Then it's all about relationships. The name of the game is relationships, especially in 2025. They're cracking down on like, you know, new businesses getting high limits.
Right.
We're still getting new businesses funded, but you got to build that relationship. So what I tell people is deposit some money into your bank accounts. $1,000 or more would be great, but if you can at least do $250 in a bank account to start building that rapport.
Right.
If you want to strengthen it even more, I say go do some weekly deposits, right? And then I'll say after 4 weeks of consistent bank deposits, bank statements, money going through there, then let's go apply for those products, right?
Right.
And when it comes to relationships, so most funders or most people, what they do is they go do applications manually. What we do is we leverage banking relationship managers. So we work directly with people at the bank who have power and who have ability. So my clients, we request our limits. We
skip it in line.
Exactly. Yeah. We try to get 50,000 for this person. Can we do that? What is it looking like? Okay, cool. My rep gets on a quick Zoom call with my client. They do an interaction, make sure that they are who they say they are, make sure that their docs are in order, and then from there they're gonna push them through.
That's tough.